A lot of people are saying that the mask is initiating you into a new global order and your place within it. What they're saying that wearing the mask is a ritual event. We are in some huge ceremony. The lords and ladies of the ceremony, the shamans, the high priests, are now the politicians. They're the surgeons, they're the doctors, they're Fauci, they're all of these people. Because the shaman originally, he was the leader of the society, and he stood for many things. He understood the laws, he understood the religion, he understood the military or going attacking, he understood the farming, because he was linked to spirit, and spirit would talk to him, and then he would talk to the people, or people would join him in the community, but he would lead. But overall, he probably had the last piece of advice, or the last say. What's happened is, over the years, as we've got more and more complex, the shaman, who was perhaps the united understanding of everything, has now fractioned. So you get the biologist, the physicist, and the chemist instead of the scientist. You probably originally had a scientist who had a limited understanding of everything, and then he gets fractioned off. And then within biology, you get biochemistry or biophysics, and then they fraction, and then they fraction. So you can become a doctor of something which is perhaps obscure to somebody, because it's become so focused on minute detail. The further you go in, the universe keeps opening up, which is one of the magic parts of living in this world, that the small things seem to have other universes. The world that we're entering into is called the fourth industrial revolution. We've had the first industrial revolution, which was steam, and then we went into the electricity, we went into motors, we went into computers, but now we're going into the smart revolution. This smart revolution, it's exponential in its capacity to innovate. The whole world is changing. It's changing business, food, medicine, education. And the problem that we have in the world at the moment are legacy systems. Legacy systems are things that we don't need, but we keep using. For instance, pilots and airplanes, we don't need them. We can do it with machines. We can do it with AI. For instance, money, we don't need money. We can just use cashless money through credit cards and digital currency. So teachers are another one which are going, what's the point teaching if a child in their hand has a smartphone with more capacity, understanding and knowledge than you have? If you ask the child a question, the child can just look it up on the telephone and give you the answer. So teachers in the future will change from teachers into guides, and they'll change into software engineers, which basically give hyper-specialist classes to children, and AI will take over the education. So those are legacy systems. And the society is based on legacy systems. In order to move into the fourth industrial revolution, you need to get rid of the legacy systems, which means changing the society. But people in the society don't want to change because of nostalgia and because of routine in the way they're doing something. So it's very strange that at this moment in time we've got COVID, and COVID acts as a perfect excuse to change all of these legacy systems. Money's going, education's changing, banking's changing, and we're having the layout of 5G while all of this happens. And 5G is what's going to make everything smart. It's going to make all the Uber as a company for a taxi that people can do as an extra job will be converted into a driverless car. So all of these companies are being set up to help bring in the new fourth industrial revolution, which some might call the Armageddon, some might call the New World Order. But the ritual of bringing something in through the mask is being put out. Now, if technology is part of human destiny, then we are supposed to go through this time. We went through living in the jungle or the wilderness. We went into farming. We went into cities. We went into complex societies, philosophy, art, history, schools, societies, mega cities, countries, into businesses that are more powerful and rich than countries. So the human, he's changed. He's on this transition of changing. And you get a lot of fear from Christians that this is the new world order and it's by Satan, and everything's bad. Now, I think that if technology isn't handled properly and it's abused by negative energies, which negative energies may well want to do, and I think that they are, and that is to control humans by dominating them, by exerting power over them, then that is something that we need to stop. But on the other hand, just because technology can do this doesn't mean that it's something that should be stopped. You shouldn't turn into a Luddite. That in the past, many technologies like gunpowder have managed to destroy other nations. The whole of Latin America was destroyed by the Catholic Church and the conquistadors because of gunpowder, or boats, or greater technology. So we can't hate technology for the sake of hating technology. What we need to do is we need to try to be more conscious of what we're doing, and I believe that that consciousness comes from nature. And it's strange that technology tries to destroy nature. As we progress, the technology nuclear centers in Japan, Fukushima, destroyed nature. The drilling for oil destroys nature. The building of all of these bridges and towns destroys nature. The growth of humans and their want for food, especially meat, involves destroying the Amazon rainforest so that cows can graze, so that we can kill them and eat them. So technology, in a strange way, having multiplied the people on the planet and then creating people to become addictive to consumerism, and that consumerism needs resources, and that resources destroys the planet. You can see how technology is sort of destroying the place that we live. And that's partly because of our own incapacity to be able to distinguish between a correct type of living and an incorrect type of living, which some may say boils down to spirituality, in that, you know, you have to be a Christian, a Muslim, or a Hindu, or a Buddhist. But at the end of the day, all of the religions have become corrupted, and the textbooks that they believe in can be misinterpreted, and one Christian will contradict another Christian, and both will say they're correct. So it's very difficult. It's like a nightmare, isn't it, really, to try to understand exactly what's going on. But this idea of COVID coming out and changing everything, and us having to acknowledge this change by putting on a mask, and that mask covering your face so that you can see what's happening, but you're not allowed to say anything. It's sort of acting like a gag, a kidnapping of humanity, because when humans get kidnapped, they automatically get gagged. They get that tape around their face, which stops them talking. And so the mask is there to stop you talking, for you not to speak out. And when you speak out, it's muffled. You can't hear what's being said properly. So the people that are bringing in this new technological revolution are people like Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and her sister Isabel Maxwell. If you look at writing by Whitney Webb, it's very interesting that the people bringing in this new technology are very involved in child sexual abuse. And child sexual abuse, paedophilia, and elitism and Satanism or negative energy have always been linked. So if the people that are trying to drive in this new technology and implement on us a particular way of living to accept the technology, instead of us naturally becoming accustomed to it and developing what we need, it's therefore sort of like a control or a power over us. And we can see what's going on. People are starting to wake up, but it's very difficult to talk. It's very difficult to know what to say. It's very difficult to know what the answer is. And when people do talk, like for instance on YouTube or Twitter, they're gagged as well. So there is this sort of link between being gagged, us, and people, alternative media, also being gagged and having to watch your words and being muffled and making sure that you're more clear with what you said. So there's lots of links that are happening and that are supporting one another to suggest that we are in some rather large ceremony, and that the mask is a symbol of that ceremony.